everyone. I'm Lisa Parenteau, and I'd like to welcome you to Lifting Others as We Rise, the podcast where we dive into the world of real estate and the power of positive thinking. In each episode, we're going to bring you inspiring conversations with real estate professionals and other thought leaders who have really harnessed the power of lifting others up along their journeys. So let's get ready to elevate our mindset. Lifting Others as We Rise podcast, where inspiration is a catalyst for action. Let's go. Welcome to Lifting Others as We Rise podcast. I am your host, Lisa Parenteau, realtor, team leader, CRS, broker associate, but most importantly, Glamma, here to beautiful Eloise Ann, who's 4, going on 17, 4 here on beautiful Cape Cod in Massachusetts. I am thrilled to welcome you to this episode of our podcast. I know you're really going to enjoy today's episode. So get comfy, settle in wherever you are. If you're at the gym, if you're just sitting around the house, if you're driving, my intention as always is to discover inspiration and catalysts for change in the stories of real estate leaders. And today, my special guest is Daniel Berger. I am so excited to welcome Daniel to today's podcast. He's been in the real estate business, as far as I know, in real estate, it may just be in sales, for over 20 years. And I understand that he was actually in the beverage and solar industry. So looking forward to hearing more about that. Daniel's got an MBA from Hofstra, which is kind of a big deal. Love to know what your thesis was on, as well as he's really involved in his community, perhaps almost a serial volunteer like I am. But it looks like you have some stuff to do with golfing, which must be something that you love, contributing to the Caddy Scholarships Program, and you're on the board of the Metropolitan Golf Writers Association. Good grief. That sounds like something very interesting and very niche and really something that would feed your sphere of influence. So welcome, Daniel.
Thank you very much, Lisa. It's great to be here. It's always great talking with other leaders of the industry, just about what's going on and how we relate to people.
Absolutely. And, it's an interesting time. It's been interesting times since like February of 2020. One of the great things I think for me is that we can no longer say we've always done it this way, and that everything we're doing, we're trying on all kinds of new things to work with clients and new ways of working, new ways of being. So tell me a little bit about the beverage and solar industries and sales. And, can you recall a specific moment or event that set you on the path that you're on today?
Absolutely. So I feel that I'm old now, so I probably have 30 years now in the
All right.
sales and marketing world, but only 9 I think I'm in my 9th year as a real estate person. And that's shocking to me that I even can say 9 because it feels like it's 3. But, I definitely know the moment that made me realize that I should be a realtor. It's very simple. So I was in beverage for 20 years. I worked for Green Mountain Coffee Roasters. I was the original sales manager for this thing called the K Cup. People were like, it's a fad. It's not going to work. I went around the country helping build teams to get people interested in it. So that was, and I had between Poland Spring and Nestle Waters, and then getting into the coffee business, I did that. And then I got into the solar business and sales and marketing. And so I really know when I got into real estate because the company went bankrupt. It was a company called Sun Edison. I was the regional director for the East Coast for residential solar energy, which actually is interesting because the issue of solar comes up a lot in real estate. And I do have a little bit of a background in that. And so the company went bankrupt. Of course, hopefully it had nothing to do with me. It was all really finance stuff and CEOs and CFOs and whatever.
It's a tough play.
So then I had to what am I going to do when I grow up? And it's my wife. So it's very specific to me. My wife's like, you should be a real estate agent. You'd be really good. She probably had said it once or twice before. I didn't really pay any attention. She's like, that's what you should do. So my wife saw in me how I could do this. And I totally give her all the credit in guiding me here. I actually feel that doing it after a 20-year career made me so much better because I'm older. I've owned real estate. This isn't about, I don't know so much what architecture. That's not what we deal with people. And just working with people, getting them through the sales process, making people feel comfortable with decisions, not being afraid to tell people that house is not for them and to let them walk away. And even if my record is 205 showings over a 13-month period, and people are like, why wouldn't you fire the client? I'm like, why would I fire someone? That's what they're trying to do. They ended up buying something over a million. They had another property over a million to sell. They've referred people to me. So I'm glad I never did that. But the idea, though, my wife saw something in me, thought I'd really be good at it. Now, 9 years later, 1,000 inspections later, and many, many sales, I get to call myself, I'm not just a real estate agent. I actually own a Remax in New York, so that I'm able to be a producer, but I'm also able to be a mentor and also guide people and be the broker. So I've actually come to a place that I'm so happy with. I mean, to me, I'm going to do this until I stop working. I love being my own boss and I love being able to guide people. It's a very hard and time consuming job, but
Mm.
for me, I've definitely found my place and I really, really enjoy it.
So one of the things I've heard as you've continued to talk a little bit is kind of the spirit of entrepreneurship, that you were in the corporate world, which many of our colleagues, started, and have a variety of stories about when they left corporate. And it sounds like you were working in a corporate setting. I mean, got the K cups, got the Green Mountain probably in the drawer right next door to me here on the other side of my wall, my book wall, my fake book wall. It's nothing. So what was that when you went from the corporate world of selling the K cups for Green Mountain and those different clients, what was that pivotal piece that had you walk from that into more of an entrepreneurial? I'm imagining when you sold solar, you were partially commissioned, if not all commission based.
I believe it was 100% commission.
Right. So that's a big
The
that's a big jump. And you probably had a
I've had commissionable jobs. I sold ad space in my college newspaper. I actually made more money in that job. It was all 100% commission. And as a student, I was making like $18,000 a year in the 80, from like 87, 88, 89, and 90, 91, that time period. So I'm okay with that. For me, how I got paid, whether it's commission or salary, is different than the entrepreneurship. I think, and why Green Mountain at the time was a very small company. So I did feel that it was kind of entrepreneurial, where I was able to bring things up. And if it made sense, it was much faster to get to a yes to do something. But then obviously, as it got bigger, that changed. I also worked for Coca-Cola for a little bit. So that's obviously, I was there. And while I love Diet Coke and I love the brand, it was really, they told you what to do. You had to do it this way. They didn't really want you to be creative. They wanted you to work within their system. And so I do much better in places where I can think outside the box. And so what is really interesting in real estate, when I'm dealing with people that are like, well, this is how we do it. And I'm like, well, why? Why do we do it that way? And I'm not going to do it that way. And also, I do love being the broker because really I guide myself and my agents by what's right and what the rules are. So if you tell me what the rules are, we're going to follow the rules clearly, but we don't have to do things a certain way because that's the way they do it. Or my broker says this, or my agents that work for my company, I really consider them independent contractors. I really don't. My job as a broker is to guide them to make sure that they're following the rules, the laws, but not. I don't tell them that they have to do this with money. That they have to do. Like if I have an open house and I offer it to my people, they don't have to do it. It's if they want to do it. I'm trying to help grow their business, but that's really where it's so entrepreneurial, right? Where it's like you do everything. Where you set your own schedule. What type of lead gen you're doing. And so I do like that I'm able to test things and go on, podcasts, and I'm able to try this with Zillow or this with Realtor, and you experiment things and then try to run analysis. Does it make sense? And am I getting value for the money? So that's where I absolutely am in heaven in this job. It's funny because I once thought about doing a job actually working for like a learning care center where I would be in charge of membership, and I had to work like one day on the weekend. And I was like, oh my God, how am I going to do that? I was also at a different point in my life where I had younger kids where I was coaching. So it was like, oh my God, I have to sit at a desk on a Saturday or a Sunday. And I was like, I didn't do that because of it. Now look at it. We're working every single day. We work weekends with like people like, what are you doing this weekend? I'm like, work, so it's like, And then what are you doing on Monday? Well, I'm working, but I do love owning my schedule and then working with people, so you brought up that I like golf. I do like golf. I do social. I like socially, but also try to intertwine it with my business. But, that's a 4 hour time period that I can still text a little bit, but you're allowed to kind of move things and then help have people. If I need to have a door open for a house, maybe I'll have one of my agents do that. I'll go back to the house either before or after so that I can see what it is as well. But that's how you can always work. You're always on. If you read my Zillow reviews and Google reviews, you would see that people say he's always available. And that's why me is that I want clients where they can always feel comfortable texting me, emailing me, and calling me. And people do it 7 days a week. I basically say you can call and text me, 7 days a week, 18 hours a day, that I'll probably answer. The other six, I'm probably sleeping, but it's okay for them to do that. I want to work on people's schedule, and some of my clients work at night, some different shifts. So our job is that we have to be available and we have to provide resources and we have to add value.
Absolutely. Yep. And I think you have an amazing and very demonstrable commitment to our profession and to your clients. Did you get that from a mentor as you were coming through, whether it was in the corporate job or the solar job, or just out of curiosity, who has mentored you that has given you the skills to be able to mentor and really the intention to mentor others as you've spoken about?
Early on when I was at Poland Spring, I had somebody who gave me the rope to do things, and that I really appreciated that. And when I brought things to him, he allowed me to do that, and he did. I got a promotion pretty quickly. I was the manager for the New York region for Poland Spring of people much older than me. So that I just kind of learned. I just did it myself, really. So he gave me the tools, but that was like years and years, and that was like 93, right? 1990, that was so long ago. But in the real estate, not really. Actually, I would argue, I hope some people don't see this, but the first two places that I went to, this is the third real estate place I went to, but the first two places I actually learned what not to do from
Mm.
watching people. I was like, I'm never going to do that. And oh, you can't do this, and you can't. I'm like, why can't I? Or like someone told me, you can't show houses at 9 o'clock at night. I'm like, what? I want somebody to move into a town, but I can't show them the house at 9 o'clock because it's dark. So I challenge people like that. And I'm just me, right? Like I'm generally wearing shorts when I do showings because that's just me, right? And so I figured my clients want for me and my personality and my networking and my ability, not because I'm wearing a suit or what have you. So
And how do
um,
you encourage that in your work environment? So what I'm hearing from you, and correct me if I'm wrong with that, it's standing in who you are and being comfortable with that and allowing and being available. How do you mentor that and show that kind of in your office?
So that's a really good question. While I do pay rent in an office, I am almost never there. The people that have aligned themselves with me are people that have children, people that have other jobs, people, I do the payroll at my company. I'm doing the bill. I do everything. And we did 120 transactions last year, 1.3 million in commission. So we're not I don't need to be the biggest and the best. I just want to be me. And so I probably do about 45% of the business. So I would tell people that they have to do what they're comfortable with, right? I wouldn't direct someone what they need to wear or not wear or
Okay.
because they're running their business. Well, if I felt that it was a miss, I might coach them on maybe how to maybe be better perceived, right? A younger person probably needs to look a little bit different because someone's gonna there's
Judge.
people prejudge you. Oh, you're young, whatever. So you might want to look a little bit more buttoned up. But again, it's still something that people have to relate that that's me. But I would say that to everyone is I want people to be genuine. And I think that will be something that buyers or sellers want to work with people that they feel that are working hard for them and are true people.
I think when
But
you
but
find yourself so strongly in feeling that identity, you are able to attract the people that will be best served by you. It's people that are always acting different, and then they wonder why they've got all kinds of different clients coming at them, versus people who are standing in their truth. They're either very analytical numbers. I mean, I look at the world through a disc lens a lot of times because I think that there is some real value in looking at those different kinds of styles of people and the best way to interact with them. And when you can see what strengths and possible challenges people have, you can more easily understand how best to serve them. But you also understand the kinds of people that would never be a good fit for you. And God bless them. They need to be a good fit for someone else, right?
I mean, I would say that I try to be the chameleon that, so I know what disc is. I've had the training before and all that. So if someone's an analytical, clearly, I'm an expressive or a driver. Sometimes, they're driving me to do this. And I'm like, I'm getting it done. And I've internalized it where I have different types of buyers and sellers right now. And some of them I have to have weekly calls. Some of them I have to do more hand holding. Some of them I have to
Of course.
tell them that things are going to be okay. So I kind of internalized that, from years ago of doing that. So otherwise, I wouldn't be getting people into contract that wouldn't get things sold because they would be too far apart. So I do try, like an example, obviously this world's so political. I consider myself a moderate. So I want to work with people that are on the left and I want to work with people on the right. So ultimately, I want to work with people that treat people respectfully, right? So anyone that can do that,
But as I
I
said, I
don't care.
think that in and of itself is serving as a magnet, right? That's that
Right.
you're leading with that, and that's serving as a magnet. I gave the disc as an example of, the awareness of the best ways we can serve others. When we are aware of those kinds of thinkers, we're more able to adapt to what kind of us they need, but certainly, having kindness, cooperation, those things that you're talking about now, leading with those things, you're going to be a magnet for those things as well.
And I do think kindness and caring and being available. And I'm talking about, like, I'm doing it right now for somebody who's on a voucher program for an apartment, right? Most brokers are not doing that type of work. And this client of mine, she's buttoned up. He knows her business. I'm doing all I can. I asked her, I said, "Do you want to work with me? I'm busy. Or do you want me to give you one of my agents?" She goes, "I want to work with you." She read my review. She's like, "I want to work with you." I said, "Fine, let's do it." And so I'm lucky that I'm able to be in the position. It takes more time and it's obviously probably less money in the sense, but that's not what it's about. It's about helping people. And in many cases, if I can help someone, there's so many examples of me helping people that I didn't think was going to turn into something that turned into so many great things. And you know what? You don't need to make top dollar in everything you do. You got to pay it forward as well. And so for me, it's a little bit, someone's a little bit down on their luck. How do I help them? And how do I fight for them? And that's what I try to do.
And
You
that
know,
attitude of abundance will come back to you. And you're telling me over and over, which is really very beautiful, absolutely. I think that genuineness and that willingness to be available and helpful and always leading with kindness. And I hear gratitude in what you're saying as well, that you are so grateful that you're able to be where you are today. You say that you're very happy and very, I don't want to say blessed, but that's what kind of the,
I would say blessed,
yeah.
actually. Very, very lucky. I have we're now empty nesters, so it's a little easier for me to be that busy, right? Because I don't have, but I've done that other stuff. But certainly a very supportive wife allows me to do that. I will say that for me, having another income and a good income is certainly allows me to become a better agent because I'm not looking at things as transactions. I'm
Yeah.
looking at things as people, which in the end, if everyone could do that, and it can be hard for someone if you're the breadwinner, if you have kids to feed, you have college to pay for. I'm a little different because I'm older and I'm through that, but I have been doing this for 9 years. But ultimately, you can't be chasing a closing, and if the closing falls apart, for I have closings fall apart all the time
Of
for a lot
course.
of different reasons. You just have to be like, I'll get the next one. And it is like you have to pick yourself up. And that's a lot of what I do as a mentor and as a coach for people is share my experience of like it happens and how do we work through it. And sometimes, you know what, maybe an agent could have said something a little bit differently to make things go. And how do we like talk about it and try to make sure that if it was our mistake, how do we, that it doesn't happen again. But Sometimes things just happen. That's part of the deal.
And what I hear from you also is a lot of grace. You're giving others grace, you're giving yourself grace. We will make mistakes, right? But through everything that you've learned and your life experience and all of those moments that you've been telling me about have really shaped, this really beautiful place that you are really on your journey for sure. Let me ask you a question that I love to ask everyone that I've had on the podcast, and feel free to reflect for a moment. But
Sure.
what was the most uplifting, inspiring compliment that you've ever received? And why was it so uplifting to you?
I'm going to use an example in real estate. One of my client, he's actually referred multiple people to me now, and I just sold one of his properties. But one of his referrals, he referred someone to me. They needed help selling their house. All of their investment was in their house. They had a house fire that they worked through. By the time I was in, that was already cleaned up. But the woman had some medical issues. She was on oxygen. I just wanted to do anything I could to help them. And to help them meant they had to do a little bit of pre-work. There was like a deck that needed work. There was maybe like $15,000 of work that needed to be done in the house. They didn't have any money. It was all of her equity was in the house. Well, she needed to sell the house, and then she needed to find an apartment, a rental. Well, she didn't have the down payment. So I worked with her. I basically lent the money. I paid the contractors for the work she did, and I had her just sign something that says at closing she'll pay me back. No, zero, no financing. I'm just like, I'm going to do this. And then when I found her a place, I had to basically tell a story that all of her money's in this. She can prepay the year if you want. And I had to, like, her first month, her security, and her commission all had to be paid by me. So it was like, I think by the time we closed, it was like $30,000 payback at no commission, not no interest, and maybe like $17,000 commission actually for selling her house. That house almost didn't sell because there was a whole issue that we didn't know. She didn't realize that her sisters owned some of the house because she thought it went to
Title
her free and
issues.
clear. It didn't, but we were able to work through actually getting them to basically relinquish their control. And at closing, she basically just hugged me and cried. She didn't say anything. She just was crying. She's like, I can't believe you did this for me. I was like, I'm so happy that I was able to do this for you. And then, of course, you know how many people she's told that story to? And the person that referred me is like, oh my, you're not even gonna believe what Danny does. So it made me feel, I probably felt better than she felt. I mean, she was just stunned that it happened and that I helped her get to the place that I'm able to even be in the position to be able. And people are like, you're nuts. You could, and I'm like, you know what? The house maybe didn't sell and I wouldn't have gotten my money back. My life would continue, but I want to be able to do that. That's the point of me owning it. I don't have to ask a broker, can I do this? I can do it because I can do it. And so for me, again, I am blessed when you talk about it. I am lucky that I'm able to be in a position to do that. I've done things like that several times. I really haven't been screwed. I've had one client who didn't appreciate it at the end of the day and was like, didn't get it. So it's like, you know what? I I can only be the best Daniel Berger that I can be. That's all I try to do. I'm not perfect. There are better people than me. That's fine. I just try to every day do give it your best and be the best person. And then I feel that those are good traits to have, and I'm comfortable with being me.
Yeah, they're
So
very good. And I can see by the way that the universe is continuing to put things in your path and reward you for all of that good work. So, Daniel, it has been truly a pleasure to meet you and to have this great conversation with you. You are really an example of doing good by doing well by doing good. That really shows in everything that you talked about, and leading with that kindness, that genuine attitude has come back to really serve you as a very successful real estate broker. I'm glad you feel like you have that freedom. I love what you said about the mentor kind of giving you enough rope to let you make some decisions. And that meant the world to you. And you're doing that now, I can see, with the agents that you're working with. So again, thank you so much for
yeah,
being here today. Thank you for being on our podcast. And I can't wait to see when our paths cross again.
very good. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us on another amazing episode of Lifting Others as We Rise. I hope you will calendar some time and consider to follow through on some of the catalysts for change that we really identified in this podcast with Daniel. I think the one that stuck out for me the most was about how can we be more genuine? Are there parts of the way that we're dealing with our clients and maybe with our families that we could be even more genuine in, and know that when we lead with that genuine spirit, with that authenticity, that will continue to be a magnet for the folks that are the best fit for us to work with? Daniel also talked an awful lot about availability, which I thought was quite interesting. Think about how that's working for you. I know I'm kind of on the other end of that, where I'm trying to carve out some time for more time for family, for my granddaughter, for my, to especially here on beautiful Cape Cod in the summer, we try to carve out some time. But what does that availability look like? Are you consistent with it? Does it fit both your business model and what you're trying to do in terms of balance for life? And then the last thing that he did really talk about was the mentoring that he got about allowing people that you're working with, kind of delegating things, allowing them to have enough room to be themselves and do their own thing. I thought that was very interesting. So, is there a situation in your life where you could allow people a little more space and time to do their own thing and to be very happy with whatever that is? So, if you enjoyed today's insights, please be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your feedback really matters. Until the next episode, keep the positivity flowing. And remember, when we make an effort to lift up others with intention, we all rise together. This is Lisa Parenteau signing off from Lifting Others as We Rise. Take good care.